So let me go on to a next question. So who are the end consumers of education, and should they have a say in the programming?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question as you process it. I believe the end consumer is the kid, but the consumer also is the parent, it's the community, it's the people who are going to hire these kids.
Mhm.
So I think it becomes imperative for educational groups like a school to be talking to those people, because as consumers they need to be giving you input. But the most important end product is that student. It's that student who walks across the stage in 12th grade that we then have data on, that tells us whether or not we did a good job. Now, we only know if we did a good job getting them there and if they have some plan to go to. We don't know what happens 4 years, 5 years down the road, but we hopefully, by probability, if we prepare them, there'll be a higher percentage that will do well down the road. But it's interesting. I'm working with a school right now that's an international school that actually follows their kids to the university, and they visit them every year at the university.
Mm.
I don't know how you would do that in public school. I think it would be possible, but they never lose the touch of the student. They're still part of the and it's very family oriented. They're still part of the family, and you want to be, change people. That's how you change them. You maintain that relationship. Um, we almost, in some ways, once the kid becomes a senior, we forget them, and that's sort of like some of the lower animals do when they hatch after babies. They have the babies and they forget them.
Yeah.
We need to be more purposeful with our alumni and our relationships, and the future. Keep those connections, and we don't do a good job at that.
Well, unfortunately, I think part of the problem there is you know, many schools, I would say most schools, are really driven by economics rather than the student relationship and the growth and productivity of that student. While they care about that, as soon as that student is no longer enrolled there where they're getting income out of them, okay, they check them off, and who are the next kids that are resources for us as a school, rather than us being resources to them as a student and as citizen.
Right. I agree. I agree. We really just need to do a better job, particularly if you get out of the state-run schools where you get subsidy from the state and you have taxation, you can raise money. But if you're in the private sector, it's much more difficult because you have no revenue, and the revenue is based upon the bodies you can attract, and if you have any relationships with people that have money and philanthropy, and if you can get them to buy into your philosophy of your school. So what happens is private schools, at least is what I have seen, they work on a very slight margin, and often the kids suffer because they don't have the money to provide some of the resources that you really would like to have in an educational setting. And I've seen a lot of scrimping and saving, and I saw kids, paying to use the microwave or one of those big water containers, put by the door where people can drop change in. It's so piecemeal, and there's sort of an unfairness in that setup. But also some of those schools that were formed in that private sector were trying to get away from the public world too. And then there was originally in the 70s a lot of isolation. But I think now we got to get past that, because I think there's advantages to both models, and you can't be exclusive, and you need to be able to work together.